I suppose you could say that the theme of the evening, it's certainly experiential. The theme is, what am I? What am I? And I am going to suggest that what we are is very different from what we've been taught. And I'm not going to ask you to believe this. I'm going to guide us all through what we call experiments, awareness exercises, that point to what we call our true nature. So you may well have heard of the idea of true nature. True nature is in contrast to our human nature, which is obviously limited and unique and special and precious and all of that. And our true nature is boundless, still, full of everything, abundant, the same in us all, got no name on it, all of that. And so I am going to introduce you to some pointers to our true nature. So does that sound good?
Yes. Yes.
No, I'd rather watch Netflix. So this approach I've been with for more than 50 years. And I was introduced to it as a teenager. And it is a unique approach. You probably will not come across something quite like this anywhere else. If you do, good. But I'm going to ask you to do what I'm sure you would be doing anyway. Beginner's mind is just to be open. In fact, the best spirit is to be about 5 years old and just open and interested and curious. And so I'd like you to notice something hardly anyone ever talks about, is that you cannot see your own head. Now you can see my head, my face, you can see everyone else around you, but there is one in this room who cannot see their own face. And I think that's you. Would you agree? Yeah. You see. And this is a very freeing thing, very freeing thing. Because, for example, I have the experience of sitting up here, and you're all looking at me. But I can't see me sitting up here. I don't see Richard. I just see what I think are his knees, hands, can see huge glasses that go around practically the whole room. I don't see Richard. So I would say this is a non-verbal experience, and I would say it's basically the same for us all, that you cannot see yourself, can't see your face. And to put it in language and look at it in different ways, as you're all looking at me, my experience is of not being here. I can't see Richard. So here's a little thing I'd like you to do, just if you're willing to play along, to direct your attention to your true nature, which is this openness. It's a kind of invisibility, it's a stillness, and it's a freedom. Because although you can see me up here, all I see is openness and you. It's like I'm not here, like I'm out of the way. I don't mean this in a kind of special. Well, it is special. But take your hands and hold them like this in front of you. And you can see a gap between your hands. And I can see the door between my hands or the ceiling. Now, slowly, as you look out, just bring your hands back either side of your head, but take your time and watch them grow bigger. So you could just, as if you're a 5-year-old, and you're just looking, and they get very, very big. I mean, mine are bigger than the door, bigger than the walls. Now keep going and watch your fingers disappear. And then your hands as you go past. From your point of view, I said, yes, now they disappear. All that is left is sensations in space. And as you bring them forward, they magically come out of nowhere. And get smaller. And I say, I understand from your point of view, my hands are just going past my head. But from my point of view, they disappear into the great void. There's clarity, space, openness can come out. It's a wonderful thing, I tell you. A wonderful thing. Be aware of this in your life and live from it. There's such freedom, such peace, such playfulness. Here's another one. It's a very simple 5-year-old stuff. If you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, become like a child. So, this is meditation. Attention to the way things are given. So, there are things, I think, in Buddhism called pointing out instruction. Headless way has a pointing in instruction. So we start with pointing out. So point at the floor, say, or the wall, or something, and look down your finger. You're directing your attention. That's the reason to do this. And you see something there. I see the floor, the colors and shapes. It's a thing. Now point at your body, maybe your other hand or your knee or something. And again, you see something there. Now hold your hand out and point back at where others see your head. Now, do you see? I don't. Do you see your head? No. Do you see your head? No. No. Isn't that an obvious thing, beautiful thing, simple thing, accessible thing, pointing into the great void? See, it is so well hidden because it's so obvious. We look out instead of back. Now, keep pointing in, but use your other hand to point out. This is a gesture indicating two-way attention, two-way looking, and it indicates this vast, open, clear space isn't just empty, it's also full. It's full of the people and the room and the sounds and the thoughts. I find no dividing line. 5-year-old stuff. Awakening to your true nature. So now you've got now you see. So you know what I'm experiencing now. You know that although I'm at the front, you can see me at the front, my face and the background. I think now you can empathize with me and know that from my point of view, I don't see Richard's face. My body's coming out of nothing. I don't see the wall. My hand is disappearing into vast awareness, clearness. And in this awareness is you. So I say, I am you. I am space for you. Understand?
No, yes.
It's a non-verbal experience. You can describe it differently. See my hands, this space here is wider than the room. I go around the world. I've just been in Madrid and before that in Germany, pointing out to people that they can't see their heads.
And you get paid for
Millions. I don't know what to do with the money. So these are sort of waking up experiments, waking up to what it's like to be oneself. And I said to be myself is to be vast open space full of you. It's a very beautiful thing. And one of the beautiful applications of this is that because I don't see my own face, when I look at you, I see your face. I have your face. We trade faces. You've got Richard's face, right? I've got yours. Trading faces. I have your appearance. You have mine. You're in me. I'm in you. Yes? Yes. We all know this, I think, in our hearts. It's very traditional. But this is putting it in a modern way. Not theory, attention. Yeah. So that is one of the beautiful things when you look at someone else. True, Dave, isn't it?
Yes.
You've got Richard's face now. I've got Dave's, right?
Yeah.
Trading faces. I'm space for you, you're space for me. And that two voices in one consciousness, right?
Sure. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, wow. So this one, if you hold the card out in front of you, you'll see this oval-shaped hole, and it's a small hole, and you can fit anything inside it. You know, this is it's a metaphor for your true nature. Your true nature is unconditionally open. And what that means is that it receives everything. It doesn't have any preferences. You probably heard this in Buddhism, having no preferences. See, Richard has lots of preferences, but my true nature does not. And I say everyone's true nature does not. So it's not an achievement, it's just that there's an aspect of yourself that is built unconditionally open. And the art of living a wonderful life is to be aware of that. They're just tremendously enriching, creative, loving. Now, this hole in the card is a metaphor for your true nature because it's empty, but you can fit anything in it, so it's full. So I fit your shoe in it, or the coffee cup, or the computer, see? So it's rather fun. Be like a child, you know, just see what you can fit in it, right? Now, it just says yes to everything. It doesn't say, well, I'm going to fit the light. I'm going to be capacity for the light, but not the exit sign or something, right? It just says yes to everything. Understood? Right. But it's out there. That's not much good, really. So you hold it in front of you. And there you see that unconditionally open, but small, round space hole. Now, I'd like you to slowly bring it towards you to put it on like a mask, but just take your time. Yeah, and watch it grow bigger and bigger and bigger. See? And you keep moving it towards the place you're looking out of, and then you'll find there's a point where the sides get very wide and the top and bottom disappear, I think. And you keep going, and then it completely disappears. And now that little hole, unconditionally open out there, is now right where you are, and you're looking out of it, and you are it, and it has no boundary, and it is full of the whole room now, and it's unconditionally saying yes to all your experience now, with no conditions. And that's your true nature. I mean, it is hidden by being so obvious. You're looking out of it. You are it. You cannot half see that hole now. See a quarter of it, you know, I mean, ridiculous. Just indivisibly open, aware, and full. Because I find no dividing line between the whole and what is in it. In language, I distinguish between the view out and the view in. The view out is all of you and the room and the sounds and the thoughts. And the view in is the space, which is empty of all that, but no dividing line. Now, how simple is that? See, where is your true nature? Right here. Does it have any boundary? You look, no, it doesn't. Is it also full? Yes, it is. You see, I'm not going by theory. I'm having a look. Now, if you put this on like this, if you would put it on, just play like a 5-year-old, and you look around, doesn't everyone look silly? But there is one in the room who does not look silly.
Oh, yeah.
Now put your hand up if that's you. You know those dogs when you put a collar on and they look so silly and they don't know. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, that is funny and it's silly and it's, sweet or whatever, but it has a profound implication, you see, because what you look like to others is, you don't really know now. But see how free you are of that silly appearance for yourself. Absolutely free of it. It makes a contrast. You contrast yourself with me, say. You see Richard's face framed. I've been framed. But are you framed? I say, I don't think so. You're not framed. You're not silly. You're not what others see you to be. Because from the outside, at that range, everyone will see that you look rather silly. But from the inside, you're not. See? And gradually, especially as you grow older, this becomes just a wonderful reality, not technique, reality. Now, see, it's 5-year-old stuff because as you look ahead, you can't see the card, you can't see anything. But now you can experience. It's simple enough. Well, you can experience something coming out of nothing. So as you bring the card off, just look ahead and watch the card come out of nothing. Right?
Yeah. Serious.
It's funny, isn't it? I discovered yesterday we did a talk at downtown yoga. And I found myself, this idea of enlightenment. And I realized enlightenment is fun. Enlightenment is a lot of fun. It is fun. I find. Now, this is a non-verbal experience. It's the most obvious thing, simplest thing. And you might, I often do this. I say, I'm now going to describe this experience in a way that I think you'll completely understand. And you perfectly get, all right? You know what's coming. Here's the description. I'm going to count down. Listen very, very carefully to what I'm going to say next. This is the ultimate explanation of enlightenment. All right? 3, you ready? 2, I'm going to say it. 1. There you are. Because this experience is non-verbal. So anything I say about it is simply my response. And anything you say about it is your response. And the joy of sharing this with others is that we have different responses and we can learn from each other. So now I want you to look in the mirror and you'll see your face, obviously. And I am sure you're looking in the mirror now and saying, oh my God, you've never looked better in your life. Oh. Now, there's a 5-year-old stuff, you see, because if you hold the card out at arm's length, so the mirror is far away, like in your hand or something. My experience is that my face is over there in the mirror at the far end of my arm. And if I follow my arm back, it disappears into the great void, and I don't find a face near it. That's where I keep my face. I've never seen it over here. I've only seen it there. And this is a great relief. It's there, not here. Oh, you've got to share the joke.
It just tickled me.
Yes. It is fantastic. It's there, not here. It's there. So the question isn't primarily, what do I look like, but where is my appearance? Where? And if I just go by what is given as a child, the kingdom of heaven is given to the simple and the childlike, you see. You look. Now, I think you like, this is the 1 meter path. So you've heard about the Noble Eightfold Path and very long paths and difficult paths. The headless way is the 1 meter path. So you hold your card out and you look in the mirror, and there is your appearance. There. Now you follow. In fact, you could take your finger, other hand, and just put it on the mirror, you see, and there's your appearance. Now, I think keep looking at the mirror, but just bring your finger up your arm, so you can also be aware of traveling up your arm. This is you're following the 1 meter path. It's up, the path is up your arm from your appearance, you see, and you come all the way, keep going to your shoulder, and then your finger disappears. There's this threshold just here, where you move from form into the formless, from your appearance into reality. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Moving from appearance to reality. From what you look like at a distance to what you are at 0. 1 meter path. You always travel. Or travel up your body. You just, you look down, you see, and you can see you end about here. And then beyond, that's the threshold. It's like stepping over into this vast mansion of openness. It's just there. It's just so incredibly well hidden, isn't it? But I mean, the publishers of Sanskrit and Pali canons are going to go out of business. Because what do we need that for? Now, this makes sense. It's a modern way. And I'll very quickly just tell you what I mean. Is you say, well, Richard, we can see your head. You've got a head. I say, well, you are 6 feet away or 10 feet away. That's where I appear to be rich, because what I am, relativity changes with the range of the observer. Because if you come up to me, you will know at this point, you'll see my whole body, then just my torso and head, and then my head and shoulders, and then my face, and then a patch of skin. Now, if you're coming up, I say, you tell me what you find me to be. And it turns out I change as you come up to me. And if you have the right instruments, then you get, from a patch of skin, you get the cells, very close range. And those resolve into molecules, atoms, and electrons. I've almost disappeared, right? You come up to me. I mean, if you take seriously this observation, you can't go up to anything and it disappears. So you come up to me and I almost disappear. If you take seriously what science says. And I say, well, you're almost here and I'm almost nothing. And I'm right here, and I verify that the final step is right into nothing at the center. Yeah, right. You're not here, so you do not have the authority to say what it's like where I am. But you have the authority if you've got all those instruments to say what I am as you move up to me. So I've got layers like an onion, and what I appear to be depends on where you're observing me from. And at the center of the center of the mandala is nothing, full of everything. Now, just to put you in a, put the rest of the picture in, if you went away from me, then eventually you would no longer see Richard, you'd see the city of Washington, and then you'd see America, and then you'd see the planet, and then you would see the star and the galaxy. Now, these are all appearances of this, whatever this is. And at this range, I'm Richard, but at that range, I'm a star. And this is like an onion with layers surrounding the central reality. And you need every one of these layers to sit here and breathe. You need obviously your body, you need your lungs, you need the cells that make up your lungs, you need the molecules that make up yourself, but you need your atmosphere, you need your sunlight, your star, your galaxy. The whole thing's one living system. It makes sense. And what is at the center? See, well, you are. But not you as Richard or Robert. That's what you appear to be. Now you can look in the mirror again, you see, and that now shows you what roughly others see you to be at this range. So you see Richard's face here, and I see it at that range. Now, if you bring it towards you, say halfway, now you see what you look like at this range. Now you bring it even closer up towards an eye and you see what you look. Now bring it all the way up and you get a blur. See, that's what you look like at that range. Well, you can't get the mirror any closer. You would then rely on someone with a microscope. But you see how the mirror is confirming that your appearance changes, even in this tiny range. If you had a full-length mirror and I put it here, you'd see your whole body. That's what I see. But if you can imagine this, you had a huge mirror on the moon, I mean, the size of the moon, and you looked in it, what do you think you would see in that mirror on the moon?
Earth.
Earth. Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Earth, yeah. You'd see your planetary face. At this range, I see my human face. That is the planetary face, my star face, my galaxy. So the question is, I mean, this is demonstrating that you have layers and you need every one of your layers. And your mirror confirms this, that your human appearance is around about here, around in this region, but closer to, you lose that. Now, the question is what is at the center of all these layers? Well, let's look at the whole again. This is a way of bringing your attention to what is at the center of all these layers. See, because no one can see it for you. You have to look from the inside. And movement attracts attention. See? So as you bring the card towards you, your attention travels with the card towards the center, towards the place you're looking out of, towards what that central reality. And as you bring it towards you, your attention is moving back and back, as it were, with the card, until you finally put it on, and there is that reality at the center of all these appearances. We're selling these for $3,000. Yeah,
So what I'm hearing is that you're discussing visual perception and changes in visual fields, all right? Now, admittedly, I'm going to be reductionist here. What happens if you don't have vision, or you have macular degeneration, or you're totally blind and you have no vision?
we will go into that now.
Okay, good.
I think maybe we'll take these cards back, if you don't mind. Just to make sure no one puts one in their pocket. This is an unusual approach, isn't it?
If you have eyes to see.
Yeah. All right, so I will guide you into something with eyes closed. Brian asked me to do this one because said you're all meditators. This is along that line. So we start with eyes open, and I'm going to point out three things about the field of view, field of vision, and then we'll go into non-visual awareness, okay? And I would be very curious, actually, to hear whether or not you ever think about this. So the first thing is I've given you this idea, out and in, but no dividing line. View out full of colors and shapes visually, see? View in, no color, no shape, but no dividing line. So form and formless, colors, colorless. So that's that simple distinction, I suppose. So I'm going to call the view the view out, the view out. All right, we'll do something just very quickly before. Call this a single eye. So here is, I think 5-year-olds love this. Because so to become aware of your single eye, it's very simple. Bring your fingers like this, like glasses, put them together with a dividing line, put the fingers together. So there's two holes there. Now put them on like glasses and notice what happens to the dividing. Now what happens to the dividing?
Disappears.
Disappears. So the two at that range, right at contact, are one. Two become one. So we call this, it's a single opening. Here's the single opening. Yeah. So I call it a single eye. It's not an eye, but just for the sake of communication, call it a single eye. So this is my single eye. So take your hand and go all the way around the single eye. So you see how they disappear all the way around the view. So that is your single eye. Yeah. Now, when you look at the view out, you can contrast. If you look at me, I've got a boundary around me. Sometimes call it a hard edge. And Richard is on the inside of this boundary, and the rest of the world is out. So anything you look at has a boundary, a shape, an edge, and it is inside that boundary, and everything is outside. The chair or one of these pieces of wood, anything. Now, look at the whole view. And I think you'll find what you're looking at is in the center of the field of view and most in focus. And then as you include peripheral vision, it fades out. And I'd like you to be aware as much as you can of the periphery, the edge there, as well as what's in the center. Now that edge is a very curious edge, because I don't find anything on the other side of it. It fades out into nothing. Now, I'm using words to describe this, but are you following me? I can't see anything above it or below it or to the left or the right. Now, do you ever think about that? Has anyone ever talked to you about that? Has anyone ever pointed? No, I mean, it's incredible. No one mentions it. So, this is the first person point of view. From the third person is the view of yourself from outside as a person or a cell or a planet. But inside is this vast openness full of the view. And it fades out all the way around into nothing. I'm putting words on this non-verbal experience. So I say, it's language, the whole view is floating in nothing. Understood? I mean, you might use different words, but or floating in consciousness. So consciousness is a word. It makes it sound like it's a thing, but consciousness isn't a thing. It's what is the container of things. And this space that you see, it's just so wide and kind of goes around. So that edge is it's a soft edge, not a hard edge. It doesn't have other things on the other side, just fades into nothing. See, I move my hand and it disappears. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that reappears. So when you were a baby or an infant, you probably did this. You know, you went, oh my God, what's that? Look ahead, have your hand below the view, you see, in the nothing, in the great void. And as you look ahead, raise your hand and you see it comes out of nothing, just appears. And you go, what is that? Now, you may have played this game with your mum. You see, she gives you a piece of food and you drop it, you see, and from your point of view, it drops off the edge of the world into nothing. And your mum has to retrieve it from nothing and bring it back. We are now into deep philosophy. Something coming out of nothing. And going
Object permanence,
Yeah.
object impermanence.
back. Yes,
Out of sight, out of mind.
yes.
At my age, out of sight, out of sight.
So that's the first thing that to notice about the view that is floating in the middle of nothing. I'm putting words on. Now the second thing is its size. So if you look at any two objects in the room, you can compare their size. So you could say one is bigger or smaller than, so you know that I am bigger than the computer. See? But the computer is bigger than, I don't know, the card. So one thing can be either bigger or smaller than something else. It's relative. You follow? Yeah, any two things, you can compare their size. See, and one thing is either bigger or smaller. Now, you look at the whole view again, you just relax. Peripheral vision. See, the whole thing fading out all around the edge, and you ask yourself, how big is it? Well, there isn't a second to compare it with. Anyone see a second one? No. What? Single. So I cannot say that the view I've got is bigger or smaller because there isn't another one that I experience. It is single, incomparable, one, alone. Single. Deep, there's a deep thing, I say, deep thing, single. How big is it? How wide is it? How wide is the view? The way I like to put it is that it's as wide as whatever is in it. So the moment it's as wide as the room, but I go out at night on a clear night and it's as wide as the heavens. Wider than me. Yes, wide. Born to be wide. Walt Whitman, I am large, I contain multitudes, yes.
It's all visual, right? And we have other senses like touch. It stops here. It doesn't stop here.
I'm going to go into that in a moment. Just three things about the visual field, and then we'll go into the non-visual. You okay with that? Cool. Okay. So the boundary, I can't say where the bound, it doesn't seem to have a clear boundary, fades out to nothing. Can't say how big the view is because there's nothing to compare it with. Third thing is, between any two things, you can estimate a distance between two heads, or me and the computer, you can estimate a distance. But now ask yourself, how far away is the whole view from the nothing, to put it like that? Well, there's nowhere to measure from. Is it here? Is it there? Anywhere you'd measure from is within the view, right? But the whole view, floating in nothing, no address, no location, no boundary, can't say how big it is, unique, single, alone, one, incomparable. All right. So the tradition is that who you really are is just tremendous. Just outrageously wonderful, your true nature. Just extraordinarily powerful, deep, astonishing. You, who you really are, see. Now, how many of us live our lives aware of that glory? This is what I'm pointing at. And so a 5-year-old, for children, because one of the traditional powers that your true nature has, you have, in Indian spirituality, I think is Shiva. Is it Shiva who destroys and creates? Yeah. Destroyer and creator. Well, I don't have that power. Close your eyes. Gone. The room's gone. Open your eyes. Appear. Close your eyes. As it were, you've destroyed the room. Open your eyes. Create. Attention is created. From the outside, I know. Just closing my eyes, nothing happens to the room. But from the inside, that's where the power is. That's where the secret is. That's where the truth is. On the inside, it's not on the outside. It's on the inside. And it is a matter really of taking seriously your own point of view, not being talked out of your glory. So close your eyes and keep them closed and be aware of the darkness. So we're just going to go through the senses step by step. Be aware of the darkness. And can you find a clear boundary to that darkness? A kind of hard edge with other things on the other side of that? Or doesn't it, like the visual field, fade out or have no clear boundary? Or I say the darkness also is floating in nothing, floating in awareness, appearing in this vast openness that you are, in the sky of being, without a clear boundary. See, how big is the darkness? See, we rarely ask these simple questions, but anyway, you might do. How big is the darkness? Well, I don't find a second one to compare it with. It's single. How wide is the darkness? Is it inside anything? Is it contained? How far away is it? Well, from where, you see? And you can now include sounds, as it were. Bring that to your attention, sounds. And the different sounds, my voice, or some kind of machine there. different sounds. And I'm, for the sake of communication, just going to call this the field of sound. And there are loud sounds and soft sounds. How big is the whole field of sound? Well, there's not a second to compare. Where is its edge? Does it have a clear edge? Is it contained inside anything? Or is it just arising, fading out into silence, so to speak, arising in silence? I like to say that the sounds come out of the silence. My voice is coming out of the silence. And the sounds are changing. They find the silence, so to speak, consciousness, the emptiness, the silence isn't changing. And if I describe the sounds as coming out of this bare ground of silence, then I say this, that silence is creative, fertile, coming up with these sounds. I don't know how. It's alive. And I say that the sounds are happening in this same mysterious emptiness as the darkness. I can distinguish between the darkness and the sounds, but I can't separate them out. Can't separate them. And where they come from is this indivisible being, awareness. See, how big is awareness? There's nothing to compare it with. How wide is awareness? At the moment it's as wide as the field of sound, I suppose. And now bring into your awareness the body sensations. And if I say be aware of your right hand, then you have learned to associate the image of your right hand with that sensation. So that's why I can direct your attention to that cluster of sensations. Or I say, be aware of your left foot, and your attention goes to that sensation because you've got an image of your left foot there, which I think you've learned. I think you have learned that to label these sensations with these images. So imagine, if you can, just to help you put aside the labels for the moment, imagine you're a baby and you've recently been born and you haven't even opened your eyes yet. And of course, you've got no language, you've never looked in a mirror, you have no labels for these sensations, no idea of leg or head or foot or back, but you've got the sensation. Some people like to describe this as a cloud of sensation because it gets away from the learned image. So, but just be aware of what we could call the field of sensation now. How big is that whole field of sensation? You're putting aside the image of your body, which has a shape and a size, okay, which you've learned. Say you're a baby. I can't say how big the field of sensation is. There isn't a second to compare it with. Does it have a clear edge? which would mean there'd be something outside it, bumping up against it, containing that field of sensation? Or does the field of sensation kind of fade out, like the field of sound, like the darkness, into just vast openness? How far away is the field of sensation? From where? You see. So going by that field of sensation, how big are you? Do you have a boundary, a clear edge? How wide are you? Well, I suppose I could say I'm as wide as the field of sensation at the moment. However, as wide as east is from west. Now, I like being boundless. I like being wide. I like having no edge. I like being uncontained. It feels very healthy, very familiar, relaxing, not to be contained. And though I can distinguish between the sensations and the sounds, see, I've just distinguished them, and the darkness, I find I cannot separate them out. They're all arising together in this limitless openness, space, clarity, silence, mystery. And now I'm going to invite you to include your thoughts and feelings. And think of a number. See, and I find that number just appears out of nowhere, like the sounds appear out of the silence. Think of another number. It comes out of what the Buddhists call no mind. Mind comes out of no mind. Thought comes out of no thought. Without me understanding how that happens. Or imagine a mountain. I mean, how do you do that? I have no idea. It's created. No mind is created. Or imagine the face of a friend and be aware of the affection you feel for your friend, or feelings there, meaning, associations, memories arising in this nothingness. So we could call all these thoughts and feelings the field of mind. And some Buddhists talk about big mind. Well, how big is your mind? Well, I don't find a second to compare it with. How wide is your mind? Wide. Does it have a boundary? I find no hard edge. And though I can distinguish between my thoughts and my sensations and the sounds, I cannot separate them. They're all arising together in this one consciousness. What are you? Who are you? Are you small or are you boundless? You could say, I am whatever is happening. How creative, fertile, irrepressibly and ceaselessly always coming up with something, sounds, thoughts, feelings, sensations. Now, I have been guiding you through this meditation, and we started with the darkness, and then went to the sounds, sensations, thoughts. Now I'm going to suggest that we don't focus on any particular aspect, but just be the open space for whatever arises, like the hole in the card. The space is unconditionally open. And so for the next minute or two, or whatever, just being quiet together, you might find a sound attracts your attention into the center of attention, and then a memory, and then a sensation, and back to a memory, or anything. And I'm going to suggest that you simply cannot do this wrong. Just being the unconditionally open space that you are, and just being, seeing, witnessing what arises. So keep your eyes closed, please, for a little longer. And just going to bring attention to the question of where, or even if there is a dividing line between inside and outside. So you can hear my voice, and you might label that as outside. And then if you get something like ringing in the ears, or something that you call inside in terms of sound, or something like that, it's useful to label Richard's voice as outside and the ringing in the ears or whatever is inside. That's very useful when you go to the doctor, for example. But now, accepting that distinction, where is the dividing line between Richard's voice and that ringing sound? Is there a dividing line? Or isn't it all inside or all outside? And this also applies to thoughts. So we think of thoughts being inside and sounds being outside. So here's an experiment, still with eyes closed. I'm going to, well, first of all, I would invite you to silently count, to start counting. I'll explain what you're going to do. You're going to start counting from one. Now, 1, 2, 3, whatever, like that. But to yourself, and just be aware as you're counting of the number, and even you could silently say the number, and be aware it has a meaning. 1 is different from 2, is different from 3. So with the image of the number, say, and the silent sound of the number comes meaning and even maybe feeling. You might like one number more. So just do, and notice that those thoughts, those numbers, arise out of no mind, like the sounds. So just do that for a moment, just count and be aware of those numbers arising out of nowhere, the image, the silent sound of it, the meaning, the feeling. Okay. So now I am going to count out loud. And as you hear me say the numbers, think them, imagine them, and observe if you can find, you can distinguish between your saying the number and my saying it. But can you find a dividing line? Is there a dividing line between the sound and the thought, the sound and the meaning? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, as you are hearing that sound of a, I don't know if it's air conditioning or heater or I don't know what it is, be aware if you have any images that go with that sound, what you think it is, whether you like it or not. Now you can distinguish between the sound, which is so-called outside you, and your thoughts about it, which is so-called inside. But where's the dividing line? Yes. I say the sounds come with thoughts. It's all arising together. So one other thing before we open our eyes, just to perhaps be aware of. Does thinking prevent you from being aware of the vast openness of your true nature? That hole in the card that became boundless. Does thinking stop? Do you have to stop thinking to be aware of your true nature? I find I don't. That the thinking comes out of my true nature, just as the sounds come out of my true nature, and the sensations arise in my true nature. And the thoughts are no more obscure, my true nature, than the sounds and the feelings. They highlight my true nature. They come out of it. They celebrate it. Mind comes out of no mind. Sounds come out of silence. Sensations come out of this bodiless vastness. All right, open your eyes. And the room has appeared in the nothing. Magic. And I say this is so practical that you can be aware of your true nature. And see, I'm sitting here and you see me as small, but I feel big. I'm wide. Apparently, there was a Zen master who was asked by a student, said, Zen master, how tall are you? And the Zen master said, oh, I think about 30 feet. But he's being very modest, you know, I mean, you go on up forever, go down, go sleep. And I find that an image for your true nature, which I think is in Buddhism, is of a mother hen with her wings around her chicks. And if you were one of these chicks, imagine you're under your mother's wing, and it's warm and cozy with your other siblings. You feel very safe and loved. Your true nature, I find, is as if you got invisible arms around the whole world. Because my true nature goes off the side as if it goes around the whole world. As if you are embracing and holding everything within your being, what you are. Very safe, very loving. Any questions at the moment or reflections?
I have a question about you mentioned things like silence and from no mind to mind, that there's no boundary, but there's a distinction between something known and something unknown. But I never know the unknown thing. So it just doesn't, I feel like there's some intuition that I'm not seeing here where everything that I know, it's known. Like that's part of it, right? That's consciousness. It doesn't feel like things are arising out of silence because that's a thing that I don't know. All I know is the stuff
Yes, and I would say that the experience essentially is non-verbal, and so we talk about it in different ways. I understand what you're saying,
Okay.
and there are different ways of thinking about it. And if the way that I describe it doesn't fit for you, no matter. Yeah.
I want to know though if there's something that I'm missing.
No, there isn't.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
So, okay, we've got 20 minutes or something, do we? 15? So one more thing I would invite you to do is come back to what is, for me, a beautiful side of this, is noticing that when I look at someone, I see your face and not mine. See? So in language, I say it's face to no face. Or I'm assuming you see mine and not yours, so you've got mine and I've got yours. So we trade faces. So when you look at me, you see my face and not yours, right? Yeah. So would you like to try the tube experiment?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So So this is between two in pairs. So I'm going to introduce it, but we're just going to give one to each couple there. Yep, so there. And then I'll explain what this is about. This is something that I think you won't forget. I'll show you with Robert. You're just gonna. I'm going to just say something about this before you look in the tube. So, I'm just going to invite you to use your voices. And the reason for this is just to, when we communicate about our experience, well, I'm just going to invite you to communicate about it. So I'm going to just show you with Robert what I mean first. Outside the tube, you can try it, and then try it in the tube. You have to do the tube. So part of what I am sharing in the world, well, I'm sharing this vision of who we really are. But I'm also encouraging people to be aware of it and to communicate about it, so that we bring it onto the front burner. And when you use your voice, something happens. So I'm just going to, this is just, because we haven't much time, but I'll just show you this simple exercise. It's about empathy as well. So I'm A and Robert is B. So I'll keep it very simple and introduce you to it. I'm going to talk about my experience first, and then I'm going to place myself in Robert's shoes and empathize. You'll see what I mean. Very simple. So when I'm looking at you, Robert, I don't see Richard's face, I see yours. I'm looking out of open space here, and in this space are you. I have your face now instead of Richard's. Okay? Very simple. See? No face here, face there. And I imagine from your point of view, you can't see Robert's face there. See, you can nod and you can say, yeah, that's right. You've got Richard. So there you're looking at a single eye, and in your awareness here is Richard. So you have Richard's face and I have Robert's face.
That's right.
We trade faces. Now you do it just to demonstrate. See?
I am space for you. In fact, a gigantic space for you.
Very big.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I feel I can take care of you in this space.
Yeah.
I also have your face because I don't have a face here.
You've got Richard's face. Yes.
It's crazy.
Now imagine.
And then you imagine, of course, that wait a minute. I imagine that you're space as well.
I am.
And that you have my face.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have you and you and me, right? This is deep. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Very loving. And it makes a difference to say it. It's a very deep, beautiful thing to say to someone. I am you. Not from theory. If you want really simple, I have your face now. You don't. You have my face.
Your face.
Yeah. So with the person you're going to do the tube with it, before you look in the tube, I know you haven't done it before. I know, it's new, but experiment. Just choose who is A and who is B. And A, if you feel comfortable saying this, say, well, I don't see my face. I see yours. I have yours. I have the open for you. And I imagine you're in the same condition. Understood? A and B. So then B has to go. Yeah. So you do your side first, then you imagine their point of view, and you can chat. So just have a go. So now do it inside the tube. And there's perspex, so you don't breathe over each other. So try it inside the tube. Have a go in the tube. You see, you've got Richard's face at the far end, but no face at the near end. You've now been initiated. A friend of mine made these with the perspex in the middle. Post-COVID, we used to do it without the plastic thing in the middle, but then with COVID, we couldn't. And then she built these things.
I was right.
So this is the headless way. And do you want to say anything about the DC community idea?
Yeah, so Richard just mentioned that the way we cultivate this way of seeing, which I know that you see Brian. That's very, that's clear to me. I'm 40 years old, and I know that you've been seeing Brian for 40 years, but I don't see Brian. And it's important that Richard and I can talk about how I'm Brian for Richard, and I have Richard, but Richard doesn't have Richard, and Brian doesn't have Brian. Neither of us have that burden. We carry the burden for each other of being a limited, separate person. So it's about being both. It's about being the role of a separate, limited self, and also being our limitless, boundless self. And to cultivate that is to be in community of other people who see that they don't have a head in their direct experience, that they don't have a face. So we're building that community here in DC, and this week is just the beginning. And this weekend we'll have a workshop in Tenleytown, and you're all invited. But you have to attend both days, 9:30 to 5. But you can sleep in your own beds Saturday night. It's not non-residential. And then in September we'll be doing a 5-day retreat in Madison, Virginia, an hour and a half west of here. So if you want to be involved in these forthcoming events and meetings and groups and whatever kind of programming we have, hopefully Richard will come back September and then next year for another circuit of round of meetings.